TV 47 Weekend Edition is good to have you, of course, joining us. And we get back to more stories, a very comprehensive feature that we have prepared for you this evening, certainly one that you want to understand some more about. And so as we wait for Sheila to give us that, of course, we get straight to yes, here we are. Around Lake Naivasha, rising waters have swallowed homes, displaced thousands and disrupted tourism, wildlife, as well as Kenya's multi-billion shilling flower industry. Some businesses have adapted to the lake's changing behavior, but communities like Kihoto remain trapped between water and uncertainty. So tonight we ask, which solutions are working, which are failing, and what it will take to keep people from living on borrowed shorelines. Sheila Chelangat with the details of that story.
Kihoto, a quiet lakeside settlement where life has always followed the lake's rhythm. Today, that rhythm has changed. Streets have become canals and homes sit half submerged. This has become routine for Gilbert Were, but he says it's no remedy. By night, more hyacinth floats by, blocking his gate.
Sai maji kwa nyumba ndani kuna nyumba zingine iko, lakini kuna zenye hazina, lakini sasa tunakaa na maji. Tunakaa fish tu.
Lake Naivasha's name comes from the Maasai word Enaiposha, meaning rough waters, and that roughness is no longer metaphorical. For over a century, the lake has oscillated through its peaks since 1906, when the official Riparian high water mark was set at about 1,892.8 meters above sea level. In 1965, the lake reached a notable peak of approximately 1,889 meters before declining steadily through the 1980s and 1990s due to prolonged drought. By 2009, water levels had fallen to about 1,884 meters, marking one of the lowest modern records. The trend then reversed in 2020 as the lake rose sharply to 1,891.5 meters.
Previously, when you engage in discussions with those people who have stayed years within this landscape for times that are beyond 40 years, they will tell you that whenever it used to rain in those years, water used to get to the lake after about 3 to 6 weeks. It will rain in the catchment, but you'll start recording a rise in the lake level after 3 to 6 weeks. But presently, whenever it rains in the catchment, it just takes a few hours. The runoff is already in the lake. And this runoff is coming in a high velocity, high speed, which is also bringing in sediment and silt.
And in 2025, the rise was even more unforgiving, displacing more than 4,000 people, most of them flower farm workers and fishermen.
You need to note that Lake Naivasha is a shallow water body. Most of the lake bed sits in depths that are less than 4 meters deep. So one failed rainfall will expose a huge acreage of the lake bed, and a good precipitation will flood also a big acreage of the lake bed, and that largely defines the behavior of our lake.
While the rising lake has been disastrous for some, other neighbors of the lake have responded differently. Flower farms, Valued at over $1 billion annually, the flower farming sector has felt the threat of the rising waters, some estimates indicating that the waters have engulfed up to 3/4 of certain farms' land, forcing many to adapt. Farms have redesigned their landscapes, building constructed wetlands, buffer zones and controlled drainage systems. These wetlands act like sponges, slowing runoff, filtering water and giving the lake room to expand without destroying infrastructure. While not stopping the lake, these measures have reduced damage, protected greenhouses and limited pollution flowing back into Naivasha. It is not a perfect solution. It is expensive, land-intensive and only works where planning rules are enforced, but it shows adaptation is possible. Then, can the story about Kihoto be different?
To some extent, some of these challenges are a creation of government. For example, when I look at a settlement like Kihoto, the mother survey plan that gave birth to Kihoto was initiated by government, and a lease was given for agricultural use. Yet, when you look at the mother survey plan, the surveyor plotted the 62-10 feet contour line, and in the survey plan just pointed out that the settlement sits on, the entire parcel sits on the Lake's riparian land.
Here in Kihoto lies one of the colonial boundaries. Early 1900s, British surveyors set it at 6,210 feet and no permanent homes were allowed here. But since the 1990s, this hippo wetland has been turned into a residential area, placing thousands directly in the lake's natural expansion zone.
Progressively, the government still approved subsequent subdivisions and also change of user from agricultural to residential and mixed use. And even all the developments in Kihoto have been approved by government. The sale and land transfer documents have been approved by government. So Kihoto is squarely on government. The government is to blame.
The silence and receding waters here in Kihoto can be deceptive. But for residents here, the unpredictable surge of Lake Naivasha waters continues to threaten their survival. For now, they're left watching, bracing for when next Lake Naivasha waters will rise again. Now thousands still stuck here in Kihoto live with uncertainty. Daily chores that were once routine are now a negotiation with the lake.
Ukiangalia kuna time saizi huyu mtoto ukiweza enda job umemwachia wale wa junior wakubwa, mtoto ataguza hii maji ama akunywe, unaona? Na hii ni toilets saizi. Hii si maji pure ile ya lake. Saizi toilets zote zishatoka.
With the waters came wildlife. Hippos now move through flooded streets, forced to shift their nesting and foraging grounds.
By 6:30, yenyewe lazima ukuwe kwa keja. Juu pia hizi hippos yuko mbali, ziko around 300 meters tu. Zinakaga tu kwa maji. Mali maji iko size ya 4 feet.
The Kenya Wildlife Service has had to translocate over 150 animals.
These hippos, they only know until where the water level is. And of course, when they move out with the water, they look for foraging material. And of course, now the end result is that you'll find them in the human habitation.
Unfortunately, we are destroying this critical area that defines Lake Naivasha. When you look at the bird life population, history indicates that we previously hosted over 20,000 individuals in terms of the population of bird life. But we barely go beyond 12,000 presently. And with this encroachment, with this destruction of the lake's riparian and littoral areas, we foresee the bird life community will continually decrease.
Weeks after filming this, 2 fishermen drowned in this lake after an attack by a herd of 7 hippos. It is this reality that has made Kihoto residents live under curfews imposed by nature itself. Business people too on the shores of the lake adhere to it faithfully.
From as early as 8 p.m., you'll find hippos grazing on road reserves. That needs to be addressed.
Inabidi hata sisi hapa ikifikia masaa ya saa 1 hii saa 12 kila mtu anaanza kupanda juu. Hippo akishatokea unajua anaenda mbali ili arudi akule akirudi. Akishakupata pale atakubali. Unapata kama mimi ni muadhiriwa. Nilikuwa nafanya kazi ya fishing. But now I don't work. Niko na injuries ambazo nimepata kwa hii maji. Nilikuwa navua na boat. Hippo akatokea from nowhere ikashika, and I have to nikapata injuries ambazo juu ili nigongesha mpaka mkono wangu kawa nimefanywa operation hata hii mwezi wa 7. So it is si ile kama venye naichukua hivi haiwezi inuka zaidi hapo, labda ni.
On the other hand, luxury resorts and hotels too have been left hanging on tightly to the contour of the expanding lake. Some are deeply swallowed by the waters, but those that have somewhat survived are busy fighting with the lake quite literally.
2020, a good number of landowners tried to beat the lake by dumping soil on their shoreline to raise the land, so that to prevent the water from rising, but that is not permitted by law. They have their development ideas and resources to do that, but unfortunately they don't inquire to understand the behavior of this lake. If they would have inquired to know how this lake behaves, they will not have done those investments.
For those who depend on this lake, jobs and incomes hang in the balance. Like here at Karagita Beach, many say they have been left vulnerable as they potentially stare at a decline in visitor numbers.
Wote kumefungwa, wameweka fences around the lake ambapo wanyama kama viboko hawawezi kwenda kupata mahali ya kukula. Kwa hivyo juu hapa beach juu iko open, hao wanyama wanachagua kupitia hapa. Wakati wanapitia hapa wanapata watu bado wako hapa hawajafunga kazi kuanzia saa 1, 2. Hao wanyama wakipata mtu ni wanauma.
Duka yangu ya 1400 imeenda hivyo. Na kuna mtu ambaye tumepata wa kutusaidia, serikali itusaidii. Tumekaa tu namna hii. Ni unajitetea wewe mwenyewe tena mpaka uamuke.
Due to the big rise of water, without seeing any giraffe. So there are so many people who are diverting from coming here for, nature walks and every other thing because, there is no giraffe and other species of animals are disappearing.
Government committees have proposed disaster declarations, compensation, relocation and multi-agency coordination. Its implementation, however, remains slow and uneven.
Then they went and whenever we engage them, they always tell us that they don't have funding. Kenyan taxpayers pay taxes, there is revenue. I think government needs to prioritize completion of these mapping of the resurveying and mapping and marking of the lake's riparian boundary so that we can do proper enforcement to secure the lake's riparian boundary.
Unlike flower farms, residents lack legal land security, financing and clear relocation frameworks. Adaptation has favored those with resources while the most vulnerable are forced to wait. Experts say solutions already exist, including strict enforcement of riparian boundaries, planned relocation with compensation, wetland restoration, and climate-resilient urban planning. What's missing is execution.
This selective enforcement will kill this lake. We have sacred investors that are well protected. Then we've also seen trends where we are seeing these atrocities expanding, especially along the southern shoreline.
For Kihoto, So, survival no longer depends on predicting the lake, but on whether solutions already working elsewhere can be extended to them. Until then, residents remain on these bored shorelines, watching the water and waiting.
Tuliboeka kwa sababu hata kaunti yenyewe ni kama ilisahau watu. Yeah. Kuna msaada hii uonekana hapa na ikipatikana ni kwa wamoja tu wenye wanajuana.
Whatever they are doing that you call investment is detrimental to this lake. And this is a fragile ecosystem that requires protection.
As lake waters continue to fluctuate, communities living along the shorelines of Lake Naivasha continue to live between hope and uncertainty. Well, history shows that the lake waters have risen before, and science suggests that it could continue rising again. So for these communities, it is about this neighbor that continues to shape their lives. Sheila Chelangat for TV47 in Naivasha.